How's it going, guys? And welcome to your Smackdown review. So, before we get started here, I want to just say rest in peace to Daphne Unger, who passed away. It was a few days ago. Believe we learned about this on Thursday. It was really depressing news. I remember, watching her on WCW on Nitro, and they paired her up with Crowbar and David Flair, and she was always a joy to watch. The original crazy chick, like before Victoria, this was definitely probably inspired even her character on TV. She was great in the role she was given. She was always involved in hardcore antics. I even said online on Facebook in the Wrestling Gods group, I said, this is why when, all these marks put over Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa, and they put over their match that they had on Dynamite, saying, oh, they're so hardcore. This is why I cringe, because I know that there's a history of so much better stuff that I lived through and watched. So, the fact that even a lot of like older fans forget about the stuff that we've seen and just how much better it is, it really shows how much they've lowered the bar. And, when it came to raising the bar and giving high quality entertainment and a character driven performance, that's where Daphne excelled. So I want to, just give a little shout out there. It's so depressing what happened to her. It's something that shouldn't have even happened. And the thing that just, makes me sick to my stomach is you have people that are so bitter, like Carl Anderson, that they'll actually go after Vince McMahon, go after the WWE for the simple fact that they want to offer mental health services to their talent. And we know there's a lot of these superstars that have this problem. Braun Strowman, even Alexa Bliss, Bray Wyatt went through this, several others. And, it's a big problem in society. And the fact that they want to take care of their talent, I know the narrative is out there. You people listen to John Oliver and you listen to Tony Khan. Oh, WWE, they don't give health insurance, little. Little do people want to give credit for the simple fact that McMahon has sent countless wrestlers to rehab, has helped them with drug problems and addiction problems. And this was a classic case, like I said, even back in the day. Well, you wouldn't notice if you were on Facebook, and I've been active in the Wrestling Gods because there's so many great people that are a part of that Facebook group. So, when Wrestling Jesus made that group, I just knew I had to join, and that's exactly what I did. And, I said the simple fact is that you have someone like Road Dogg, who had a really bad drug addiction. He was offered rehab. I think he went and he refused most of it. So they ended up releasing him. He ended up getting hired in TNA. And he was very bitter towards the WWE, but then, he ended up cleaning himself up later on, and then he got hired back. So this is like an endless cycle. Talent has always been bitter, but I don't think they were ever this bitter. I think a lot of the stuff Road Dogg did was probably to get heat. It's probably kayfabe stuff, but whatever the case may be, there has been wrestlers when they get released, they have animosity towards the WWE. And of course there's so many of the fans that just back these statements from wrestlers. People were giving Carl Anderson a hard time, and rightfully so. I was happy to see that. I didn't agree with Ryback, who I am a fan of, going after Sean Ross Sapp. I don't like Sean Ross Sapp. The guy's a total soy boy, but he did have a little bit of a moment there putting over those services, because there's nothing wrong with WWE's doing. I mean, like, if you're against that, you're basically saying that WWE is saying fuck you to their talent, saying, just go off there and sit in a corner and deal with your problems. You people, the AEW fans, all the smarks out there, you all want to complain and preach this narrative that McMahon is heartless, that he doesn't care for his employees. Well, here he is offering them a service here, a service that could cost quite a bit of money. He's giving them this for free. If you don't have insurance, seeing a therapist, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, it could cost you a lot of money. McMahon is offering this for free. And the people that are giving, always giving McMahon shit, he does something positive and you're still giving him shit. And this is what I say week to week in these reviews. Now, I give scathing reviews on WWE all the time, but the minute I say something about AEW, I'm automatically a WWE fanboy. Even though every single week we do an in-depth critical look at SmackDown and the pay-per-views, and once in a while Raw, which I used to do all the time, but I don't anymore because I just can't take that. But I'm always so fair, and it doesn't matter. Because the AEW fans, the indie smucks, and there's nobody who just watches AEW. They watch WWE too. Let's get that straight. Okay, so now that we have that out of the way, and we peel back the curtain, these are the people. They're the super obsessive smarks, and they just want to believe in that. They're wishing that McMahon will die. You already know there's something wrong with these people when they want an individual to die who they don't even know personally. But they want this person to die, just because he doesn't make the show the way that they want it to be, which is just sick and demented. And maybe those people should look into some mental health themselves. I'm just saying. But it's really such a contradictory way of thinking that you're going to actually sit there and badmouth McMahon when he's doing something positive for his talent. Just because you like that narrative and you like to build up AEW and you like to build up Tony Khan like he's the Mother Teresa of wrestling, and he just isn't. That's simply the case. He's a goofball clown who's spending way too much money on just a vast array of talent, and it's not moving the needle. They got past 1 million, and then the ratings start dropping back down because they don't know how to book that talent. And the same thing is happening with CM Punk. He's already getting beat up by some NXT releases. I mean, come on, guys. Give credit where it's due. That's what I say on these shows. You gotta put something over when it's good. But you have people saying, oh, SummerSlam sucked. Meanwhile, we have these great matches like Edge and Rollins. You know what I'm saying? Like, guys, I came on here and I badmouthed Seth Rollins for years. But when the guy started putting in the work and he started to improve, I'm not going to be a goofball clown and be like, oh, he sucks, and keep making fun of his voice and everything. When the guy's showing improvement, I come on these reviews and I state it. I say that it's better because I'm not, if something changes, I'm not going to do tunnel vision. I'm going to divert. I'm going to take a left turn. I'm going to take a right turn, and I'm going to say the truth here because I'm not going to tell people what they want to hear, whether it's an anti-WWE person or an anti-AEW person. If AEW does something good, I'll put it over. I have yet to see anything good, really. I didn't say the inaugural CM Punk promo was bad. I just thought it wasn't as impressive as people were making out to be. So now, with that said, we got all the little disclaimers out of the way and how I feel about that, and of course Daphne. So let's get to the show. So we start off with an Usos promo in the ring, and these guys are just experts on the mic. It just needs to be said. If it's Roman on the mic, if it's the Usos on the mic, once in a while they hit a snag, like when they were kind of acting a bit goofy, taunting Ray and Dominic on the Titantron a few weeks back, before SummerSlam. But here we got classic Usos. And we got the Street Profits coming to the ring, and they were on the mic too, but it didn't sound as, clownish and goofy as it is. When Montez Ford is a little bit more refined and not all over the place like he could be in promos sometimes, I think he could be pretty decent. And this was a pretty decent looking match. I have to say, Montez Ford is an athlete. The Street Profits overall, both of them are, pretty decent in the ring. I can't say that they're bad. Not big fans, but they are growing on me. This finish, I don't know, just doing a disqualification finish out of nowhere, especially when I see what they're kind of doing here, like they're kind of paying them back for helping out Finn Balor, so they're beating on them and they're not listening to the referee, trying to break it apart in the corner. But the thing is, it's like they are spending time like looking at each other and listening to the Street Profits cut the promo on them. If they're that angry, like wouldn't they be going at each other before the bell? But that didn't happen, so there was a bit of an inconsistency there. And I was like, well, at least the Usos will get some heat on them. But then the Street Profits end up turning the tables even after the beatdown, and they stand on top of the announce table and they celebrate. So I didn't really kind of get the point of that. The Usos were getting heat, and then the Street Profits ripped the heat right away from the Usos, and then we're kind of just left with anyway, this was another one of these championship contenders matches, so I guess they qualified because it was a disqualification. Wasn't this the last time they had one of these championship qualifiers? Wasn't this the same exact thing that happened? Wasn't there a disqualification and we were all left confused? Remember, it was something having to do with Naka Murphy in the Intercontinental Championship, I believe. Yeah, I believe it was with Apollo Crews. It wasn't that the case? It was the same thing. It ended in the DQ. We were all like questioning it. And again, they don't even tell you what the result was. They didn't even tell you it was a disqualification. You just have to kind of figure it out that the Usos got disqualified, so they're the winners. So, but whatever. I'm like, okay. So I guess, are they going to have the match next week with these guys? Are they going to have an Extreme Rules? I don't know. Anyway, I just thought it was a little bit bizarre. And I'm so sick of this. I'm going back once again. I have to say, you always had championship matches. What is this? Qualifying. You're already in the ring with the champions. Why do you have to beat them in order to earn the shot? Like, now this is something, it's not new. They've always done this. They just did it calling it non-title matches. But this is basically what it is. They just gave a name to the non-title match. Instead of calling it a non-title match, it's now a championship qualifying match. And this is just kind of the dumbest thing ever. I think that they even gave it a name, it makes it even more annoying, to be quite honest. Anyway, we move on, and we've got Paul Heyman backstage, and he gets caught up with Kayla Braxton. One thing I have to say before we move on, I did like that they went back to having Roman Reigns watching the Usos on the monitor, and he's emoting, which was nice, and he's getting frustrated seeing that the Usos kind of got beat up at the end. So this is something that they should have never went away from. Reigns is, far and away the star of your show. It's not even close to who the star of the show is. This is your star. The camera should be on him as much as possible. Fuck overexposure and all these lame excuses and everything. Keep the camera on him whenever you have an opportune time to do it. And I'm happy they kind of went back to this. This is something that we really haven't been seeing since they left the Thunderdome, which is so confusing to me. It's like you leave the Thunderdome just so you can kind of get away from telling the story. So I'm happy they went back to that. Anyway, back to Kayla Braxton trying to interview Heyman. This whole... I said this last week. Why are they telling this story of why Kayla is always, trolling Heyman? It's all on the WWE it's all in the SmackDown post show. And if you didn't watch the post show, which I don't, but I've seen enough of it to see where this came from, where the animosity and the smugness came from on the point of Kayla Braxton. You may come into this and say, well, she's just the snarkiest bitch you've ever seen. Why is she doing this to Heyman? Why is she torturing the man? And the fact is because Heyman would always mistreat Braxton on that show. And so it's like, if you need to do that much extensive research on the show that no one is watching on the network, like who's like really watching that post show on the network? Like who like just enjoyed SmackDown so much? But then again, you got people who enjoy Dynamite so much, they're watching Dark and they're watching Elevation and they're watching Rampage and they're watching all these, they're watching all 4 shows. I mean, come on. It's like, WWE has 2 shows, but like, come on, like who's watching Main Event? The only time I watched Main Event is when Karrion Kross was on there and when Jinder Mahal returned. Once in a while I tune into it. But before that, it had been years that I had tuned into a Main Event. But, you've got people over on the AEW side who watch all that. But the main point is you need to watch that other obscure show to know what's going on here with this little relationship. So anyway, Kayla's kind of getting into Heyman, and we're like, Heyman's kind of standing around for this, and it's like, it's almost like, why doesn't he just tell her to fuck off, basically? He doesn't want to be around her, but this is the joke, I get it. And the other, like, this is the ridiculous thing. It was funny. It's entertaining, I will say, but if you don't know about it, like I said, you're going to be confused. But she's shoving the mic in his face. It's almost up his damn nose, the microphone. And Heyman's phone goes off, and it's Brock Lesnar's theme, which I thought was a cute little touch. I like that. He silences the phone real quick. She gets even smugger, the Kayla Braxton does. And then his phone goes off again, and he answers the phone while the mic is still there. If he wants Kayla Braxton to leave him alone, and he wants to keep this relationship with Brock private, but, why are they having Heyman talk to Brock on the phone with a microphone right in his mouth? I get it, that's like part of the joke, but like, wouldn't it be better if maybe like he was trying to walk away really fast as a Paul Heyman could possibly move, and have Kayla kind of trailing behind him with the mic, kind of like really like torturing him and really harassing him? I thought that would actually be funnier and a bit more believable. But I guess, Heyman can only get so many steps in a day where, he's just completely exhausted. He's already done his cardio for the day, I suppose. But, he was talking to Brock Lesnar. We'll learn about what happened in that conversation a little bit later on. But he turns around and he sees a janitor, but it's Big E, and he's dressed up like a janitor for some reason, and he starts laughing maniacally. This was really funny, but I kind of have to say, what are they doing with Big E exactly? He's helping Bianca Belair sign her name, practice her name like she's a 3-year-old, practicing calligraphy for her kindergarten class for her first day at school. And now he's dressed up as a janitor. Like, okay, it's comedic. It's funny. I'm laughing at the fact that Big E is, being so over exaggerated with his, his facial expressions and the ridiculous laugh. It's good. He's a good character. He's funny and all that. But like, you're dressing the man up as a janitor, and he's your Money in the Bank guy. He's, the guy who won the pay-per-view, the match that the pay-per-view is named after. And this is what he's doing. This is going to be your next possible Universal Champion. Obviously, he's laughing in Heyman's face all this time. This is obviously going to be who he's going to be cashing in on, is Roman Reigns. So this is how you're preparing him for the championship. Like, they've done this with countless Money in the Bank winners. they've had these guys beaten down to the point that when they win the world title, it just kind of doesn't mean anything because they made them look so bad. And I've heard people make excuses like, oh, they're doing this so you won't expect it. And I guess it's going to be like, oh, the little we see of Big E, that's going to kind of put him out of our minds more. How ridiculous is that? Can you imagine if they did that with Edge back in the day? Could you imagine if they did that with any other Money in the Bank winner? I mean, it just never happened. It's so stupid to like keep him pushed off to the side and making these little cameos here and there. I don't get it. Same thing, like he's on the pre-show at SummerSlam and he's the Money in the Bank winner. You had him go through this whole entire match and he doesn't even have something on the main card. I mean, you're showing that this guy is worthy. You want us to believe that this is going to be your next world champion, your next main eventer. This is going to be your guy, and he's dressed up as a fucking janitor. And I'm like, I don't want to completely knock this segment because I laughed during it and I was entertained by it, but the connotations surrounding it, and I'm just saying to myself, like, this is the Money in the Bank winner, and he's dressed up as a janitor. Like, okay. These are the things, it's like, I'm trying to put it over, but at the same time, I'm so confused of why they make these decisions because it could be better. And, it wouldn't have to be criticized if it didn't have that other side to the coin. Then we get the cringiest segment. It might have been even cringier than last week. Because who comes out? Do I even have to say? Well, of course I do. Cringey Lynch. So I'm kind of happy that she's back in the way because I kind of missed saying Cringey Lynch and I didn't have a lot of good excuses to say Cringey Lynch. So I'm going to try to say it as much as I can, before she goes off again and, whatever the case may be. So she's out there and she's fishing for "You Deserve It" chants, and I'm still confused at what character she's supposed to be. And the whole thing is like, we're kind of getting a really confused character here, where it's like she's sort of a heel, but she's not really putting the crowd down, and she's not exactly being mean, even though she's saying no to Bianca. She calls her Esther. Oh, she called her by her real name. Oh, I'm sorry. That's not exactly as striking as it used to be back in the day, because you see, you'd have to kind of surround this promo with other words and style that kind of warrants a reaction. Just you calling her Esther is not gonna make me grasp at my heart and be like, oh, what a promo. Breaking down that fourth wall and coming at her, and breaking the kayfabe. I mean, come on. That's not going to get it done. But, this, saying, I didn't hear "You Deserve It" chants last week, and she gets a few "You Deserve It" chants, and she actually puts over the chants, even though it's just, really light. Like, I was surprised they didn't even pipe it in, but there was just a few "You Deserve It" chants. And she's not, you could tell, like, people are kind of not really into her as much as they used to be. It's not that people are so upset that, Bianca lost, because if that was the case, they'd be booing her. If people really cared that she beat Bianca and that made her bad, and then they'd treat her like a bad guy and they'd boo the shit out of her. But they're not booing the shit out of her. They're kind of just like, they cheer a little bit when she comes out, then she's in the ring. There's not really much of a response. She had to, like, beg for that attention, to beg for those ridiculous "You Deserve It" chants, and they're not even supplying them. So, you couldn't even get an audience trained who usually does those chants to do it, because I guess this was not a smarky crowd, and they just weren't in the mood to do it. I don't know what it was, but thankfully that didn't last long. But we've got Bianca coming out, and she's all happy again. This is the thing. I mean, honestly, and I'm gonna put it over because I always had a few people on here saying, "Oh, you just copy what Russo says here on your little reviews." So I'm gonna put over what Bin Hamin said over on Russo's brand. Uh, you know, basically, Bianca comes out happy, giddy, slapping her ass every single time, no matter what's going on. You lost your title in 26 seconds. You should be fuming. You should be mad. Becky's out there, making light of you, and you're not the least bit upset. Just keep a smile on. Hey, then again, why is this so surprising? They even had Ronda Rousey coming out there with a shit-eating grin every single week. So I'm kind of not really surprised, is all I'm saying. So, I could expect less from, Bianca. But like I said, a lot of these people, cancel the Divas. Like, Bianca Belair is talented. I like her. This girl is strong as hell. There is something there to her. It's just they're not supplying it in the right way. Because, it's the whole thing. She don't need the giant ponytail coming out, whipping it around, and doing the same entrance. And it really is like, you never saw this back in the day. Like, even when Triple H came out, did he always have to get on the apron and spit his water before he cut the promo? No. Sometimes he could just cut the promo without having to go through all the mannerisms and the he and the who and the ha 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 and all this, stuff. It didn't need to happen. Just get to the point. You don't need to keep on, doing this every single time you come out and doing this. Come on. Like, just get to the meat. It's so one-dimensional that they all got to come out there and do their little entrance and all that. It's like, seriously, when I see this and I'm watching on Hulu, I'm skipping ahead 10 seconds. Bloop, bloop, bloop. I keep, kind of just wait until she gets the mic in her hand, then I start watching, because it's like every single time I gotta keep watching this same entrance every single time, no matter what the mood is. Whatever mood, even though Becky's not really setting a good mood, Cringey Lynch, but like that, also the acting here from Lynch, always talking like this and trying to get a little bit of, I don't know what she's really going for here. This is what I've always tried to explain in her promos. It's very bad acting. It's very forced, is always what I used to say. But it's like she's kind of trying to put a little bit of style and charisma in the way how she talks, but it's not coming off genuine. It's kind of just sounding like you're changing your speech pattern to make yourself more entertaining, but you kind of end up sounding a bit cringy. Hence the nickname I've given her. It's not good. It's never been good. It's never going to be good. Okay? We've been doing this since when? We've been doing this since late 2018, and it hasn't gotten any better. Jesus Christ. I mean, really, has she been doing this character for really that long? She left in 2020. She was gone for a year and a half. I mean, that was really a kind of a big hiatus when you really think about it. I mean, that was long. I know, I get it. She was pregnant, obviously, and all that. But, man, she was really out of the, even after giving birth, like, really out of the public eye for a while. Just on social media, just trolling a bit, making like she was going to return at Mania and the Rumble and all these other, different events. But wherever the case may be, she's back. And, this promo right here, Bianca always doing that. I'm going to tell you something about this EST business. It takes way too fucking long to say this stuff. Saying the strongest, the fastest, just get to the point of the promo. Like, it's not even that over. And she keeps harping on the EST thing and this and that. And like, it's not if you smell what the Rock is cooking, it's not, and that's the bottom line. It's not a have a nice day. It's not over like any of those catchphrases. You didn't even, not even Trish Stratus had a catchphrase. Lita didn't have a catchphrase, and all these girls, for some reason, You know, how was it that they were so much more over without having to do these ridiculous, overly rehearsed promos where you gotta, you gotta make sure you say your little catchphrase. Even though the catchphrase sucks, they still keep going with it. And for what reason? Like, I'm just saying, like, I get it. And she keeps emphasizing the S and everything, and it's every single promo. They have to keep doing that because it's her thing. Just like the entrance, it's her thing. Well, maybe the thing isn't that great. Maybe the thing is a bit tiresome. Maybe the thing needs to be changed up a little bit. I mean, quite obviously, it's not working because you kind of really just destroyed everything you built up with her at SummerSlam. So if it's not working, then it's time to tear it all down and start again. The athlete is good. Bianca Belair, good. I like her. I think that she's, shows a lot of promise. She's a good talent. But this character that they've given her and this, she's got to say this and she's got to, do this taunt every single time she comes out. That's got to stop. I mean, honestly, because it's detracting from her. And quite frankly, it is. It's just like it's tiresome already. Change up the act a bit because the act itself is not good. And obviously not a lot of people care for it that much. Anyway, Bianca gives a challenge. She says, why don't you do what Roman's going to do tonight and put the title on the line because Roman's going to be defending against Balor later on. And Becky declines, just like she did last week. Okay, so that, that's nice to see. But later on, they force Becky into, they approach her backstage. Adam Pearce coming out of nowhere. We haven't seen him for weeks, but he comes out of nowhere with Sonya Deville, and they tell her that she does have to defend her title later on in the show. So, and we're gonna, well, they told her that later on in the show, but she's gonna be defending it next week at Madison Square Garden. So at least we don't have to have any more of those fake out, challenges anymore. Well, not tonight. That garbage that they've been doing for so long with that's the heel heat because, and Becky, Cringey Lynch, there's not even any heel heat. Like, it's so obvious that she's supposed to be the heel here, but Bianca is, the baby face. But I guess, maybe they're waiting to next week to launch into full-on heel mode because the character here she's doing, the tweener, walking the line, she's not doing a very good job of it because it's just kind of confusing what she's trying to convey. She wants the "you deserve it" chants. She is denying challengers. I don't get it. That's a heel thing. Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, backstage, you got Ziggler and Robert Roode walking in. Toni Storm is getting ready. Where has she been? She debuted like 2 months ago and then she disappeared. Not a word. I don't even see the dirt sheets talking about it. I don't know if I missed the story. Let me know down in the comments below if something happened. I don't know. Did she get sick or whatever the case may be? But it's been like 2 months. What did she do? She debuted and she beat Zelina Vega and that was it. And then she was gone. And so we got Ziggler, and I got to tell you something. I didn't even recognize Toni backstage. Like, I kind of forget. I don't think she was wearing a hat. That's why I'm so used to seeing her with the hat on all the time. Doing the Ashley Mazzaro look. So I was like, who is that? Like, who is the Caitlyn looking girl? And I was, and then when he says, Toni Storm, you're the new kid in town. And she said that she's going to be rooting for Boogs instead. And that's basically it. So Toni Storm got some FaceTime. She's not getting a match. She's not getting a promo. She's rooting for Boogs. Okay. So that's, she debuts and everything. You have the vignettes for her and then she's gone. The announcers don't tell you why. And by the way, the Pat McAfee will be back next week. Thank God, because not that I really hate Corey Graves or anything, but Corey Graves to me is just such a generic, serviceable announcer. Like, he's all right, But man, like, compared to McAfee, I mean, McAfee is great. And, this is just subpar in comparison. So thank God he's going to be back next week. We've got Rick Boogs defeating Ziggler in what was virtually a squash match. And it was actually a nice little match. Seems like they're kind of putting stock in this guy. And I have to say, he is very, I will kind of agree with what they had Corey Graves say here. An infectious personality. Like, the guy shows a lot of charisma. I have to say, even though I thought I was getting tired of the whole guitar entrance, it is still fun. I noticed that when I was watching on Hulu, I did not skip past it, which means something. I mean, like, I kind of want to see it. He's entertaining. I like the introduction he does. Seeing him in the ring, the guy's in great shape. He moves around very well, and a lot of his mannerisms are just very entertaining. And I thought that this was it was a nice short match. I wish we'd get more matches like this, so it's a shame that we really don't. But it would be nice if we had a little bit more of this. It was just a short match. I mean, we kind of consider this to be a squash match by today's standards, but really kind of back in the day, this was kind of the average length for a match on Raw or SmackDown, and I was perfectly fine with it because it was nice to just have these nice little quick matches that, fun to watch, but don't overstay their welcome. And I wish we could get more of that. And, we had some good character here with Boogs and, giving the guy a win. Not very eventful. Obviously they have no idea what they're doing with Ziggler and Rude, so why not give a win to Boogs, I suppose. I don't know, just something to buy another week, I guess, but I enjoyed it. Cesaro defeated Seth Rollins by disqualification when Seth hit him with a chair. So before the match begins, Seth cuts a promo, and like I started saying in the beginning, my little disclaimer about people that just like to harp on the WWE because that's the narrative they want to go by and nothing's going to break the narrative. I said Seth Rollins has improved, and here was another example. I mean, this guy just showing so much in the way of facial expressions. He's, at first it was a little awkward. He was just kind of doing the laugh out of nowhere. But now he's kind of really crafted a psychologically imbalanced type of character, and it's kind of a lot of fun to watch. Even him coming out, and I saw like he's doing the maestro thing, and it's kind of like the guy is acting goofy, but it has a bit of refinement to it where I really, like what he's doing. He's having fun, and I'm having fun watching because I see a lot of joy in the performance, and it really shows. Like, when a performer is enjoying what they're doing and they're kind of given a little bit of liberty to do what they want, it just shows. It just shows, like, you could just see what he is doing here compared to what his wife is doing, Cringey Lynch, earlier in the show, where she has to, which I didn't mention, she keeps smacking her lips every 2 seconds because she's so nervous and kind of buying time to think of the next line. Here you have a natural performance that's a lot of fun and kind of always makes me smile when I see him because the guy is just, he's so out there the way he's doing it. And this is just so much better. We've come so far with Rollins. If only he'd stop doing the stupid superplex Falcon Arrow, we'd be straight. I mean, but the guy is doing a marvelous job with this character, and you gotta believe that Edge is kind of responsible for this. I kind of think working with Edge has brought the best side of Seth Rollins at him, and I think they've kicked the indie side of him, the ROH side of Seth Rollins, to the curb. Rest in peace, ROH, Seth Rollins. Rest in peace, Tyler Black. Rest in peace, I don't need a character. My characters, I'm a good wrestler. Rest in peace, the Philly cheese steaks are fantastic. What was the other stupid thing he said? Oh, you're on fire tonight. Remember that? Yeah, thank God that stuff is dead and buried with Rollins, and I hope after he leaves his feud with Edge that he remains the same level of quality. So he says he's been watching, Edge's match over and over, and he says he thinks he's watched every single match in Edge's career. I don't know if he was talking about since SummerSlam, but whatever the case may be, I kind of liked how it makes him seem like a total nut that he'd be watching this match on replay. I think a nice little touch kind of would have been if he kept like rewinding the finish to the match, with the backstage when the interviewer coming into his locker room. That would have been kind of nice, I think. But this was good how it was. My only complaint here is with Rollins in this mindset here. I thought that this match shouldn't have been so even Stevens. Like, obviously, you're not going to do anything with Cesaro. It's quite clear. So Cesaro managed to, get his entrance back and everything. Otis and Gable had nothing to do with this segment after they beat him down last week. So, I don't know if that's a COVID-related thing or, why they're not on the show. Maybe that's what the case is. I'll check later. But, no follow-up. Like, okay, he just has a match with Rollins for the 90th time. But, we got a little bit of Rollins emoting in this match. So, I thought it was better. It's so funny that when you watch a wrestler, and you kind of enjoy what they're doing outside the ring, it makes what they do inside the ring look even better. That's a really weird kind of psychological thing, but it really shows just how important a character is. Because like it drives me crazy how so many people are just obsessed with the moves that this wrestler does a lot of moves. I like him, like Johnny Gargano. He's great because he does a lot of moves. Yeah, can't stand that. But besides that, I mean, I thought that they should have just had Rollins be vicious. I mean, if he watched Edge and he learned, what Edge. About Edge's mindset during matches, and he knew what to do because he watched Edge, for hours on end ever since SummerSlam. Like, he should have just came in there and destroyed Cesaro. They could have pressed fast forward in this match, and, I don't know what they're doing. They're buying time, but, they're having Cesaro swing him around 20 times and, all this kind of stuff and trapping him in the sharpshooter. Like, just, what they did during the Boogs match? That's what they should have done here, is what I think. Just get to the chair spot, have, end in disqualification because, Rollins has gone nuts. We get it. But we didn't have to have this whole even Stevens thing just to get to the finish line, which, what I mean, that really did nothing. If you just want to show that Cesaro's a great athlete, that really kind of does nothing here for anybody. You're not doing anything with the guy. So, he's a great athlete. Okay, well, great. But, you're not doing anything good with him. So who cares? The star of the show here is Rollins. So you want to do right by Rollins. So having a big, long match like this wasn't really the best. It was a decent match. I enjoyed what I saw. Like I said, I'm enjoying the performance of Rollins, and liking him better makes me like his matches better. If you think that's a bit fickle, then say what you want, but that's just how I kind of feel about it. Anyway, like after he did the the execution, the Impaler DDT, Gangrel Edge's move, you would think that they'd call this out, but they kind of wait until he does the Edge-o-matic. Until they start saying that he's doing some of Edge's moves. I guess they wanted to make like they didn't notice it at first, but then they also just like didn't even call the move, which I thought was kind of weird. I'm like, what a missed opportunity. They should have like picked up on it right away. Like, he just wrestled Edge and now he's doing that Impaler, which he never did before. So, but they totally blew that call. But they got on track later on when he hit the Edge-o-matic. Then he started getting the chairs ready. He did the crossfade spot with that little piece of the chair, and then Edge ends up coming out before he could do the concerto to Cesaro. So it was good that, Rollins got to do what he needed to do, and Edge makes the save. They don't touch, which was nice, and then we're gonna have a match. Edge does a challenge to Rollins backstage. He challenges him to a match at Madison Square Garden. So I'm kind of surprised they're not doing this one at Extreme Rules, unless there's like some kind of finish, like a non-finish, and then they end up doing it at Extreme Rules anyway. Because I don't know who they're gonna get Edge to face at this point, unless he's not scheduled for Extreme Rules. I don't know what the case is. Anyway, we go in the back, and we've got Roman Reigns talking to the Usos. I would like to hear a bit more of this conversation, but you only hear the tail end of it for some reason. And the first couple of words, of course, we can't hear them. We can't hear them. But I think that was kind of the point. You really weren't supposed to hear it, because the sound kind of like faded in a way, which is kind of weird. Like, why are we fading in sound? Don't we want to kind of catch them in the moment? Could you imagine on a news broadcast the sound just faded in? Like, okay, like, come on. I don't get that. So many like little weird like audio things. I don't understand. But anyway, we've got Heyman looking at Reigns, and as the camera pans over to him, and he informs Reigns that Brock is going to be at Madison Square Garden next week on SmackDown. Reigns says that's not his problem. And then Heyman kind of, lets the cat out of the bag that he knows where Lesnar is. And Reigns questions him on that. And he says, well, what if Brock is in there in the arena tonight and they just don't know about it? And then we go to the next scene, and we've got Corbin handing the keys to his Rolls Royce to one of the interviewers and calls her a valet. I would have thought she was a valet too, because there's so many of these damn interviewers backstage, you can't even keep track of them. Who's this one? Who's that one? I'm surprised I even remember Kayla Braxton's name. I guess that's because she's on all those, pre-shows and post-shows. She's on every show that has a suffix in it, So we get Corbin on the KO show, the Kevin Owens show, because now this is a thing. I always forget that this is like a talk show that actually exists. I mean, he doesn't even get like a set or anything. All these different shows like Carlito's Cabana, at least they'd put a hammock in the ring. They'd put a palm tree in the ring. They'd put lounge chairs in the ring. MVP, you got a couch. Jericho, you get a screen. You had all these different sets. Owens, has nothing. He puts on a tie over his shirt. Like, okay. And, I'm kind of noticing more and more in these promos that they're making fun of Owens' appearance. I don't know if it's kind of like a hint to kind of tell him to get in better shape, or like, kind of get some new ring attire. Like, it's quite obvious that this guy is like a decent talker. But like I said, it's true. He just looks like trash. And I don't know why they continue to give him TV time like this. Every single time we look at Owens, are you kind of thinking about someone who doesn't know about this guy and know that he's like a 15-year veteran or whatever from the Indies? People are going to turn this on and see a guy who just kind of looks like trash, I mean, that's kind of what the funny thing is about him, kind of being superior to Corbin over the past few weeks, is the fact that he kind of looked no better than Corbin. He might not have stains on his shirt, but he wasn't that far off. I'm just saying. But anyway, gotta have Corbin's coming out. He says he doesn't have the $100. He left his wallet in the car. And then he brings out Logan Paul. And the crowd is all over this guy, getting massive heat on him. Which is, this is kind of an interesting dynamic. We had Paul. I got to say, he actually did a good job here on the mic. And it's kind of embarrassing that he did so much of a better job than most of the talent did. Before, Logan Paul, I hate him. And I'm not a big fan of Logan Paul either. I mean, quite frankly, the guy is an asshole. What I've seen of him on YouTube, he just made a total fool out of himself constantly. But the guy, when he gets in the ring and he gets a mic in front of him, I mean, he makes Bianca Belair and Cringey Lynch look like they should be embarrassed. Like, honestly, aren't you embarrassed? Like, come on. I'm just saying. Like, you're looking at this and you're seeing a guy who is like an amateur as far as wrestling goes, but these pros that we're getting here, in the promo segment with the women is just like it's amateur hour compared to what Logan Paul's given us. The guy actually sounds like a professional. He sounds like he's been doing this for a living, and I get it. He's been doing shows and making videos for years and years, and he's gotten experience, and he's talked to the media so many times. He's gotten good at talking. So whatever the case may be, we've got Corbin gets the drop on Owens. After Paul starts making fun of Owens starts getting pissed off, but before he could do anything, he pops him with the mic and hits him with a choke slam. And Logan Paul gives Owens back the $100. It was an entertainment segment and everything. It's just like I really kind of wish that the broke Baron Corbin lasted a little bit longer. I just feel like they kind of just fast tracked this a bit too fast into the Happy Corbin gimmick. Like, I don't get what the big rush on this was. Like, there was so much more storytelling they could have done, but they simply didn't do it. We move on to Dominic once again getting beat by Sami Zayn after Rey Mysterio came out to the ring. He looks at Rey, and this time there wasn't even any like tomfoolery by Zayn playing possum. He just straight up looks at Rey and he gets beat. I wasn't a big fan of this match. I mean, just kind of made Dominic look like a goof, really. And I don't understand why we have to have this tension. Are they going to honestly like do a Dominic versus Rey thing? Like, I don't think that this is something I really want to see. And I don't know, like, do you guys want to see this? Like, I'm sure it would be interesting to see it, but I don't know. I'm not really craving a father versus son match. Like, I mean, that'd be an interesting dynamic for sure. It would definitely get eyes on Dominic. So, I don't know. Maybe on second thought, it might be kind of interesting, but I mean, is this how we really want to be introduced to Dominic? Like, kind of just getting mad at Rey for wanting to help him, and it's just, a miscommunication. I don't get it. But, well, I guess this is one thing why we'll say, let's see what happens with it, because it could really bring Dominic to the next level, because, like, it sounds like the crowd is responding to Dominic and everything, and the guy is a good athlete. He might look like trash, but I'm just saying, like, okay, the guy probably needs a little bit of a boost without a doubt. And this could be something that kind of puts him, over the top where he needs to be. So, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. I've done that many times before, but I'm foolishly going to do it again. Then we got Naomi approaching Sonya Deville, and I don't know why she's got this like childlike innocence to her. We also get a we get this weird segment. I think it even became I didn't even write it down, but before that, Carmella was standing in front of a wind machine, and we have Liv Morgan just kind of looking behind her, and I was like, what a random ass segment. As an announcer says, for your viewing pleasure, the most beautiful woman in WWE, Carmella. And I just, Liv Morgan is just standing there, like, staring at her from behind, like a stalker. Like, she's not really saying anything or doing anything. So it's like, so why is the scene even there? I get it, it's to further the feud, but in the most lazy way possible. So anyway, back to this Naomi thing. She's just kind of standing there like with her hands like this, like, he said that you talked to me about my match. I mean, this, like Michael Cole said, she's a former champion. Can we maybe treat her as such? And like, she's just kind of, excuse me, why is she so timid? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. And then Sonya says, oh yeah, I forgot, ask me next week, and we move on. Like, if you want people to take notice, like, unless that's what they're building to, where Naomi's just gonna explode on her and like grab her by the shirt collar, I think we should be getting a little bit more out of this than like, oh, I forgot about you. Like, she's been there for how many years, and we're kind of doing this like, oh, I don't know about, like this to me is just kind of lazy writing. Like, it's almost like they don't know what to do with her, so they're buying time to next week. It's like, because the writers forgot about her. So, but they remembered just enough to give her a little bit of face time, so they just threw this together. Anyway, in the main event, Balor comes out to the ring. He gets attacked by the Usos. I'm not so sure I was a big fan of this. I mean, like, does Reigns really need help to beat Finn Balor? I mean, I get that they're getting their revenge on him, so I guess it's the thing. The Street Profits chase off the Usos before they could do even more damage. Balor's going to wrestle anyway. We have this match, and I just felt that Balor got in way too much offense for a guy who was injured. I mean, not like he didn't dominate or anything. I mean, but they made it like so even Stevens. Like, I don't get it. Like, at this point, it ends with the submission. Reigns locks in the guillotine, and Balor ends up passing out. He kicks out of the coup de grace. I had kind of flashes of 2016 there for a minute, getting pinned by the coup de grace. But, it's kind of a little bit pathetic that we have Balor backstage talking about, people always ask, what would happen if I didn't get injured in 2016? We're still talking about 5 years ago, about something that never was. We're still talking about what ifs. What if? I'll tell you what, even if the guy didn't get injured, they'd still probably end up taking the belt off of him in a few months. I mean, come on. We're still hanging on to this bit of hope, people. Oh, win it back. I don't think so. And did anyone actually think that he was going to beat Reigns? And where does Finn Balor even go after this? I mean, they don't even have the decency to even make him the demon for this match, even though it's a championship match and he should be battening down the hatches. He should be doing everything in his power. So, he has the playing field leveled against a monster like Reigns, but he's still coming out there looking like Fonzie and all that. Anyway, Reigns ends up going out of the ring, and there was some like weird like heartbeat sound and a flash of red, and this was, I guess, supposed to be a tease for Brock. The announcers say nothing. It's almost like they didn't notice it. Reigns kind of looks around. That was a little bit odd. I don't understand why they did that. It was almost like Taz was coming out. Like, what was the bump bump? I guess it was a little bit of a something to kind of signal for Brock, but I thought it would have been more effective if they played like the beginning of his theme, and Reigns didn't expect it. He might have got a little bewildered by that, but anyway. There you go, guys. A decent enough show. Like, I gotta say, I was kind of like, it held my interest tonight. It really wasn't a terrible show. I mean, besides, Cringey Lynch and Bianca, I didn't really hate too much of what I saw, really. I mean, I enjoyed Corbin's segment. I was entertained by the opening match and the Seth Rollins stuff. I mean, I thought that match went a little bit too long for what it was looking to accomplish. But, and even the main event wasn't the worst thing. It was palatable, I suppose. It's just, I don't get why we need to have someone like Balor, like, have him get a few moves in, but really just make Reigns dominant. I don't understand why they keep on making these matches so even with Reigns. It's really kind of bothersome. Because if he's a dominant champion, have him be dominant and dominate some people. You know, it's like the same thing with Kevin Owens. Oh, we got to get it like he almost got beat by this guy. No. Don't do that. You know what I mean? If you're going to have this match, at least make it believable. But anyway, yeah, not a terrible show. Enjoyable. Seems like they have some interesting plans for next week. I'm looking forward to seeing Rollins and Edge. That, you know, if that ends up being an actual like match, I think that will be a lot of fun to look at. Anyway, and Cringey Lynch gets her big rematch. Ooh. Anyway, guys, let me know what you thought down in the comments below. Please subscribe if you haven't already and click the bells to get all notifications when I post all my new videos. I want to thank all my patrons for your continued support. Thanks again, guys. I'll see you next time.